Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully all of you are doing well out there. I'm, of course, your host, T34 Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be continuing our tier list of the Tier 8 vehicles in World of Tanks Blitz. The other day, we made a video on the Tier 8 premiums, and in today's video, we are going to be doing the Tier 8 tech trees, taking them into the tier list of needs nerf, super strong, pretty good, average, workable, and waste of money. So, as always, if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see the tier 7 tier list that'll probably be coming out in a couple of days, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, as it helps out the channel a crazy amount. If you want to see any other tier listings or videos like that, please let me know in the comments down below. But we're going to be starting off and getting straight into this. So starting off with the tier 8 American light tank, the T49. Even though the picture does not show it looking that much like a T49, more like a Bulldog, that is in fact a stock T49. And that vehicle is going to go, we're going to pretend this is running the 152mm that you would normally mount on it. I'm going to put it into workable. The T49 is a very good tank, but only in certain scenarios. As a lot of us know, as many great games you have in the T49, there's as many equal awful games where you'll get instantly killed because you made an aggressive move, or something else like that. So the T49 can be a very good tank, but I put it in the workable category because it as well has a lot of downsides, like one of the most inaccurate guns in the game. So yeah, we're going to put the 49 in the workable category. The AMX 1390, after it was buffed, I'm actually going to put in pretty good. The tank has a very accurate gun now with the on-movement dispersion. The base dispersion got buffed as well in the latest update, and the DPM got buffed. So it's a pretty good vehicle. It's got enough DPM to fight off tier 8 mediums if you're playing it somewhat aggressive. As well, it's got very good mobility, a fantastic camouflage rating, and pretty good penetration on the premium, around 260, which means that you're really not going to struggle even penetrating some of the tier 9 heavies. So I really do like the AMX 1390, and after they buffed it, I've already gotten one of my highest games ever in the vehicle, so 100% a pretty good vehicle. Same for the AMX 5100. The AMX 5100 could be argued is worse than the Emil in every single way, and while I do agree with that to certain aspects, it still is a pretty good vehicle. It carries a 100mm with fantastic standard pen at 230mm, and the premium setting at like 270 is great. It doesn't struggle at all on the penetration. Not only does it have a very solid tier 8 gun for penetration wise, it also has very good DPM. It's got 310 alpha, 3 shells, so that's 930 clip potential. The tank's quite quick. I think it goes upwards of 45 kilometers per hour, which is very nice, and that's pretty much all it has going for it, honestly. The armor is non-existent, but it is a pretty good tank because of that clip potential. There's a lot of times that I think this tank is absolutely useless, but it hurts a lot against a tier 8 or tier 7 vehicle. With HE, you're able to clip out a full health tier 7 light tank, so yeah, pretty dang deadly. Next, we got the AMX AC 46 or the 48. I think this is the 46. And this is a pretty good vehicle as well. I personally like it quite a bit. We're going to put this one into average, though. The reason we're going to put it in the average is because, yeah, while it is quick, it goes 50 kilometers per hour. While it has fantastic penetration for the tier 10, the standard is like 270, and the premium is like 300 almost. It does have some issues, and the biggest one is damage per minute. It's almost sitting at around a 10-second reload for only 400 damage, which when you compare it to other tier 8 tank destroyers with 400 alpha, that's almost unheard of. So the DPM is quite poor, and while it does have very good frontal armor, it's got a very big cupola and view bar at the roof, and as well the sides are very weak. So it's good, but at the same time has a lot of big issues. So I think it's an average vehicle. I personally like it, but yeah, I wouldn't put it much higher than the average category. The T34 II as well, we'll put that one into the average category. It's got a very nice gun, 400 alpha. It's got very nice mobility. However, it does have some big issues going for it. First of all, accuracy, 0.389, not too good on the dispersion. Second of all, this vehicle carries one of the worst armor profiles in tier 8. While the turret is very troll to get through, the lower plate is actually pennable by 120mm and higher. The side is pennable by 120mm and higher, and the rear is pretty much pennable by everything. Now, that's not great. That armor is very poor, which causes me not to like the tank too much because it's not only got a very weak ammo rack, but terrible armor. Yeah, it's a good take, don't get me wrong. Again, you could do good stuff in it, but I don't think it's the most spectacular vehicle. So I'll put it in the average category for the Tier 8 mediums. We got the WZ-110, and we'll put this take into pretty good. I think it's actually a pretty solid take. It used to be extremely strong. It had a 320 alpha, 310 alpha, and it had like 2,700 DPM. Unfortunately, the take does not live up to what it used to, but still pretty dang strong. It still carries that 100mm gun. It's got pretty good DPM, very good accuracy for what it is, and as well, this tank has got pretty good armor. I rate the WZ-110 as just an all-round pretty good vehicle. It's got good armor, good mobility, and a good gun going on it, so I'm going to leave it in the pretty good category. Now, the WZ-111, this is going to be the first vehicle going into the super strong area. This tank, while it doesn't seem that special, while not a lot of people really talk about it, this thing is fantastic. Everybody I've talked to that's grounded has absolutely loved it. First of all, it carries a 130mm gun with 460 alpha damage. It's got pretty solid damage per minute, I think around 2,700, which isn't too bad at all. Not only does it have 2,700 DPM, but the high explosive on this vehicle, just to put in perspective, the HE of a Scorpion G, the HE of, the VK168, or even a Mouse, a Tier 10 with a 128mm, 130mm, all those vehicles are sitting at 600 average high explosive damage. The WZ-111, oh boy, you're sitting at 660, which is crazy. It has the ability to absolutely slap hit points off Tier 8 vehicles, even Tier 9. It hurts a crazy amount, and it's something that makes it extremely deadly. Not only that, it's got pretty good mobility, great armor, and the gun has the ability to butter through any Tier 9 armor. So yeah, I actually really like the WZ-111, and it is a pretty dang solid vehicle. The Ferdinand, we're going to put into workable. While I personally did like the Ferdinand, it's very immobile. It only goes 30 kilometers per hour. It's also got very, very poor armor. It used to be pretty strong. Like when I grabbed this tank way back then, it actually had pretty solid armor because most vehicles weren't sitting at around 220mm base. But nowadays, yeah, the armor isn't necessarily as strong anymore. The Ferdinand can easily be penned right through the front superstructure with standard ammo as well, while the gun is very, very good. I will say the gun is fantastic. It's got a 128mm that has enough pen to cut easily through frontal armor. As well, it's got very good accuracy, pretty solid DPM. It definitely struggles on the aspect of mobility. So I do like the Ferdinand, but we'll put it in the workable category because I think you can get a good game out in it, but at the same time, it doesn't do necessarily the best of jobs. The RU-251, we're going to put this as well in the workable category. While the RU-251 is actually one of my highest average, or not, it is my highest average damage take in the game, but my RU-251, while it is having my highest damage ever recorded in Blitz, it's also got some big issues going for it. The biggest issue for the RU-251 is, first of all, low ammo capacity. The second biggest issue, I would have to say, is that the RU, while it is very mobile, does not have a great power to weight ratio. Like, it's good, don't get me wrong, it's very, very fast, but for it being the fastest take in the game, going 82 kilometers per hour, you'd expect it to get up to 82 pretty dang quickly. Yeah, that's not really the case for the RU-251. It's got no armor, like 25mm on the front, 15 on the sides. Yeah, no shells are going to bounce you. HE are easily going to wreck you, and I find the RU-251, while it does have a very good gun, it's got a very nice amount of high explosive plastic HE. It's got 270 average damage. It definitely falls apart very quickly, so that's why I'm putting it in the workable category. The VK100.01P, this one going into super strong. It used to be it needs nerf. In fact, it was so overpowered that it did get a nerf. It was ridiculously strong, but nowadays, I don't find it ridiculously overpowered. It's got very, very good frontal armor. In fact, the armor never changed on the vehicle. It's still got really good tracks, really good upper plate, and the turret is fantastic, really, really thick. It carries a 128mm gun dealing 460 average damage. Pretty dang deadly there. You don't want to mess with 460 average damage. So yeah, VK100's got a lot of great things going for it. The armor and the alpha are really, really good, but only going 20 kilometers per hour, yeah, it could be a bit better. So yeah, it's got a little bit of a trade-off back and forth. I do just want to say something. If my nose sounds a little stuffy this morning, I did pet my cat earlier today, and yeah, unfortunately I am allergic to cats. Don't ask the whole story, but yeah, big regrets, but we're going to continue with the tier list. Just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that my nose was a little stuffy and it not me coming down with a cold or anything like that. Next up, we have the Carnarvon. Now, the Carnarvon is honestly, again, a waste of money. This is a vehicle, and the reason why I'm going to put it in a waste of money, because this is a vehicle that is literally just a worse embodiment of the Carnarvon Action 10. The Carnarvon, as we all know, came into the games about 2 years ago now, I'd have to say, and pretty much it's just literally better in every single aspect. It's got the same damage per minute as the Carnarvon. It's got the same mobility, but the armor is way better, and as well it looks way better. The armor is really just what makes it better, though, is because it's got literally way better armor, which makes the Carnarvon pointless in my personal opinion. So that's the first one making the waste of money category. And honestly, yeah, you know what? The Centurion's going to go in there as well. Well, the Centurion, again, I think it's an average workable take. The thing is that when you compare it to a vehicle, let's say like the RAAC Dingo, again, this vehicle here is absolutely pointless. And that's why I'm ranking the waste of money vehicles, is that it's just a worse version of one that's already in the game. And while the Centurion used to be a pretty solid take, it's definitely lost a lot of its spark. And nowadays, the Centurion RAAC Dingo's better. We've also got vehicles like the Defender Mark I, which is a better Centurion. So yeah, the Centurion, not as strong as it used to be. The AT-15, this one I'm actually going to put in workable. I would put it into needs nerf because it's got literally 4,000 damage per minute. A lot of people don't know this. 4,000 DPM. That is the ability to kill any tier 7 in literally like 15 seconds. It's so strong, but because it has only 20 kilometers per hour and very poor armor for what it's going at, yeah, the AT-15 is going to go to the workable category. You can get really fun games out in it, but at the same time, very poor games can come out. So we're going to put it in the workable category because, yeah, it's a meh take. Charioteer, we're going to put into average. The Charioteer used to be a very good vehicle. In fact, the highest recorded damage game ever is still from the Charioteer at over 8,000 damage. But Charioteer lost its spark when they nerfed the vehicle. In fact, nobody really plays it anymore after they nerfed it, which is quite funny. But it used to carry pretty much the Fe-4202 gun in Tier 8, pretty dang overpowered. Nowadays, it still carries that gun, but with less penetration, less DPM, and it's definitely not as good as it used to be. So I think the Charioteer is still a worthy take. You could get very good games out in it, but not necessarily as good as you used to be able to. So we're going to put it in the average category. The FE301, that one's going to the super strong. This take is a light with armor. It's got pretty much a Carnarvon Action 10 gun or a Carnarvon gun. It's got 190 average damage, a really quick reload. I think it's a 4.1 second reload. Great aiming time, great DPM, and as well, fantastic armor for a light take. You have to remember that this thing has the ability to bounce Tier 8 and Tier 7 shells, standard shells on the upper plate if you're angling it, if you're using your gun depression. It's as well got a very solid turret. It's mobile because it's a light take. It's got fantastic camo. The FE301 really doesn't make sense. It's a light take with great values going for it. So yeah, the FE301 is going into the super strong category. Up next, we got the Indian Panzer. This one is going to go into workable. I don't really find the Indian Panzer anything special. It's got the gun, 225 alpha, and it's got gun depression. It's meh, you know? It's kind of like the Moots. It can do decent things, but at the same time, I don't really find anything special about it. So we're just going to leave that one in the workable category. The IS-3, we're going to put into average. It's got 400 damage, which is good. It's got a very nice gun, in fact. I would have to say it's the best of the Russian guns, but at the same time, it's got a big issue, which is called the armor. The IS-3 carries the most mobility of all the Russian heavies, but it carries the worst armor for the pike nose designs. It's only about 200 base millimeters, which makes it very weak. Pretty much all tier 8s and 7s can go through it, and yeah, even if you can't go through it in a tier 7, just load premium and you'll butter right through. So the IS-3, I'm going to put it in average because I think it can get decent games out, but at the same time, its armor lets it down big time. But oh boy, is that turret ridiculously strong. ISU 152, this is a take that, yeah, my video a long time ago, in fact, only about a month ago, got a lot of hate, but as well a lot of support. 50-50 on that category there. A lot of people think the ISU needs an nerf on the gun, a lot of people don't. So I'm going to be putting the ISU in the super strong. The ability to have 3,000 damage per minute, the ability to have 640 damage, and penetrate through any frontal armor, even tier 9, easily, without any issues whatsoever, puts it in the super strong category. It has the ability to literally body any armor. So yeah, the ISU, ridiculously strong tank, 3000 DPM, only a 12-second reload for 640 damage. That one's going into super strong. P.44 Pantera as well, going into the super strong category for the tier 8 tech trees. It's got some of the best mobility in tier 8, going 60 kilometers per hour at a top speed. It's also got really, really nice penetration, sitting at around 220 millimeters base. It's got really solid DPM as well. It's got about 225 damage. It's got 3 shells in an auto-reloading clip, and that means in a matter of 6 seconds, it's able to get out just about 675 damage, kind of like an AMX 1390, except the 1390, I guess, is 2.5 seconds, but it's got a nice clip. It's got very good mobility. It's got good gun depression, and as well, it's got decent armor to get the occasional bounce on the frontal plates. The Pantera, 100% going into the super strong category. The Hori Type 1 is going to go into pretty good. It's got a nice gun. It's got 400 average damage. It's got good penetration, good mobility, and that's really all it's got. It's just kind of like an average but really solid at everything vehicle. So it's got good mobility, good armor, great gun. So I'm going to put it in pretty good because I think you can get some very good games out in it. And that's honestly the same for the Jagdpanther, not the Jagdpanther E100, that's just the Jagdpanther II. Misspoken my words here. Now the Jagdpanther II has got mobility. It's got actually very good mobility, going 50 kilometers per hour because, as it says in the title, it's a Jagdpanther II. So it's built on the Panther II hull, but it's pretty much just kind of like the Ferdinand, how the Ferdinand's built on a Tiger P hull, while the Jagdpanther's built on a Panther II hull. So it's quick, it goes 50 kilometers per hour, has 3,200 DPM, which is very solid for a 12.8 centimeter gun, which gives it great abilities to rip through enemy opponents. It's also got really troll armor. The upper plate's quite troll on the bounces, and the superstructure can be quite troll. So we're going to put it into the pretty good category because it can do a very solid job on pretty much everything. The KV4, we're going to put into pretty good. After they've buffed the KV4 a numerous amount of times, not only does the 107mm ZIS gun it carries have very good penetration going for it. The standard at 230 is fantastic. The premium at 270 is also really good. But as well, the KV4's got fantastic frontal armor going for it, fantastic side armor. The turret is quite troll to penetrate through, but as well, the vehicle weighs quite a bit with good mobility, which is surprising. It weighs over 105 tons, and it's able to go like 35 kilometers per hour, so not too bad on all those aspects. I put the KV4 in pretty good. What do we have here? This is the Panther II. Panther II we're going to put in average, honestly. The issues with the Panther II is, first of all, it's not got the best of guns. The penetration values are lacking big time in the current meta. It struggles a lot on the penetration, and the second issue with the Panther II is that the armor is quite poor. While it does have the ability to bounce a lot of shells frontally, the side armor, very easy to get through. Very easy, especially with high explosive shells. So the Panther, I think it's a pretty good tank. It's average, though. I don't think that you'll get any spectacular games out of it, but in the same time, I think you get some pretty good ones out. The Pershing next up on the list. The Pershing is going to go into workable. The Pershing has a lot of downsides, and while I haven't personally played it, I do know from the horror stories my friends have told me, it's got a lot of downsides. First of all, the penetration is very poor. The DPM is like 1700 because why? Why is it 1700? I don't know. So it's got awful DPM, awful penetration, and it's also got really no armor. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to put it in a waste of money now that I'm thinking about it. It's got just so many bad things going for it. We're going to be putting it into the waste of money category. The Tiger II, however, that one is going to be going into super strong. It's got fantastic mobility, able to go upwards of 40 kilometers per hour. Very good gun. It's got fantastic accuracy, pretty solid DPM, and it's got some of the best armor in tier 8, able to bounce even some of the premium rounds that have got very good frontal penetration. It's got about 260 millimeters of upper plate armor. Really good armor going for it, which gives the Tiger II the super strong category. T34 lightweight, we're going to put into pretty good. It's a vehicle that, yeah, it's not as good as some of the better tier 8 mediums. However, it does have some of the trade-offs where you get a little bit less armor on the upper plate, but it's got very good mobility. It's got great gun at 270 damage per shot, great mobility, great turn armor. I actually really liked the T34 lightweight when I started playing it. That's because it's got so many great things going for it. It's got the attributes of a medium plus the attributes of a light. So we're going to be putting it into the pretty good category. Rhm BWT, we're going to put into pretty good as well. I think that, yeah, Wotb DPM is quite poor. It's not the best DPM. Wotb tank doesn't have any armor. One thing it does have is camo. It's got one of the best camo ratings in tier 8. And with that camo, you have the ability to sneak up behind somebody and give them surprise butts. So, yeah, quite fun there, taking off big ol' HE shells into the enemy as well. It's got some of the best penetration in tier 8 at 367 millimeters if you're running Cali on the heat, which has the ability to butter through pretty much any frontal armor, pretty dang strong. But here we go, finally into the first needs nerf, the Emil I. In fact, the only needs nerf we're going to be having in today's video. Now, the Emil I is super strong. It's got 320 damage with 3 shells, able to deal 960 damage in total. It's got an impenetrable hull down design where if you're using the 9 degrees of gun depression it has, you're pretty much impenetrable hull down. It's got very good standard pen around 220. It's got pretty dang good mobility because you're able to use the speed boost, or should I say the sped boost, which makes you go upwards of 45 or 43 kilometers per hour. Yeah, overall the Emil is just a ridiculously strong tank, and even now after it's been nerfed, I still think that it needs a little bit more of an armor nerf or something like that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. The STA one, we're going to put into workable. It's got absolutely no armor, and while the gun does have very good values going for it, like penetration, like DPM, yeah, when you have no armor and you're a very big boxy vehicle, I can't really put it past workable because to what I've known, I've never played it, but to what I've known, it's got very poor values going for it. So we're going to put it in the workable category. SG-101, it's also going to go into the workable. It's got terrible gun depression, like awful. But at the same time, it carries a fantastic tier 8 gun with 374 millimeters of penetration. Actually, that's a tier 10 gun now that I think about it. It's got the same gun as an IS-4 on a tier 8 tank destroyer. Has the ability to body tier 8 vehicles. Yeah, pretty dang strong. So the SG-101, I'm going to put it in workable because you can get good games out in it, but at the same time, doesn't necessarily do the best job. T34, yeah, this one, honestly, we're going to put it in the average. I don't think it's anything special anymore. It's got good gun depression, 7 degrees. Carries a 100 millimeter with, what is it? It's not even 100 millimeter. It's like a 90 millimeter. No, I guess it's really not. It's 100 millimeter now that I think about it, with 270 damage, because 90 millimeters deal 225. So it is 100 millimeter, dealing 270 damage. Pretty dang good there. Not only does it have a 270 damage, it's also got very good DPM, about 2,000-ish base DPM. So I think the tank is good. It's got great mobility, but at the same time, it definitely falls short on dispersion. It's not got the most armor. It's definitely fallen short to what it was all the way back when it first came out. Here's another waste of money for you, the T28. Absolutely useless. It is by far the worst vehicle in the game. Yeah, tier for tier wise, I'd have to say it is the worst vehicle in the game. I'm not even going to bother going into it. Just awful vehicle. T28 Prototype, I'm going to give it the glory of not going into the worst category. We'll put it in the workable. I actually really like the T28 Prototype, even though it's quite slow, only going 20 kilometers per hour. And even though the armor on the sides is very poor frontally, it's got very good armor. It's got about 230 millimeters of frontal armor, and the gun, oh my god, is the gun fantastic. It's got 250 millimeters of standard pen, 10 degrees of gun depression, and get this right, an 8.5 second reload on a 400 damage gun, giving it just about 3,000 damage per minute. Yeah, that's really strong. I absolutely love the gun on the vehicle. And even though it's very slow, the people underestimate how strong it really is, because if you poke this thing, it hurts a very large amount. Now, the T32, we're going to put into pretty good. After they've given it the speed boost and after they've given it reactive armor, it's a pretty solid vehicle. It has the ability, with its hull down capabilities through the roof, to pretty much bounce all shells hull down. And even though the gun sucks on the dispersion, I think that it is a pretty good vehicle because of how strong the hull down capabilities are. It is actually a very good vehicle. So T32 going into pretty good. We got the T69. This one is going into pretty good as well. The T69 has got a fantastic tier 8 gun going for it. It's got 3 shells that you're able to get out, all 3 in 2.5 seconds, and with that, it's got fantastic premium shells going for it. I absolutely loved it when I made my video on the vehicle. I didn't really expect much from it, but Wargaming has buffed it a crazy amount of times, and honestly, T69 100% going into the pretty good category. And finally, we have yet again another waste of money, the VK45.02 or .021 B. I don't really remember what it was, but it's a VK45. That's what I can call it. Absolutely hated the take when I ground it. A lot of other people hated it. VK45 is literally just a steaming pile of hot garbage. It does have a decent gun, but the armor is non-existent even after they've buffed it, and it's an absolutely useless take in my personal opinion. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you agree with today's video and you want to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. But other than that, hopefully all of you are doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, to be seeing you in the next one.